Good morning. We are back again in my kitchen, and today we are going to put together those apple tarts we talked about. We made the pâte brisée last week, and today we're going to make the streusel. I'm going to show you how to slice the apples on the mandolin and also to slice them by hand, and then we're going to put the whole thing together in these little cute, adorable little disposable tart pans. All right, so let's do this streusel. I've changed up this recipe a little bit from what you have. I'm adding some nuts to this one, and I'm adding just a little teeny bit of oats, just because I felt like mixing it up. There's all types of streusel out there. The basic is just butter, white sugar, and flour. This one I've mixed up a little bit, and it's slightly different than the recipe that you have. So flour, we got it. Sugar goes in. Nuts, chopped up fine, go in. I have a pinch of salt. I put a pinch of cinnamon as well, and a teeny little bit of oats. And those are our dry ingredients. And I'm just gonna toss them together with my hands. But I just realized I forgot the butter. So, cut. Okay, so here's the butter, all scaled out, hard as a rock. I took it out of the refrigerator, and I'm tossing it in with the dry ingredients. I'm gonna give it a toss with my hands, and then I am going to break it down till it's about pea size, that infamous pea size. I can do that by pressing it by hand, or I can use a pastry blender. Either one will work just fine. I will come back and show you what this looks like once I'm done. Okay, so I have cut that butter up into bits about the size of peas, and I'm gonna throw this stuff in the freezer while I get everything else ready to show you how to put those tarts together, because we want the butter to stay cold. If the butter stays cold, you're gonna have a nice crunchy streusel on the top of your tarts. All right, I'll be back with you again in 1 second. Okay, so this lovely little tool is called a mandolin. I don't know if you've ever used it before. It's a dangerous little thing. To set it up, you want to lay it on its front and then lift up its movable legs, which wobble back and forth, move from the right to the left, and also this inner part that swings in both directions. You want to look for this little lip right here on this end. This end does not have a lip. So you want to swing this part so that it catches underneath that lip. And then you're going to lift, and we are going to turn it around. And this one is super sharp. I've had it for years and years. My son-in-law took the blade off and recently turned it into a razor sharp little edge. So if we were, let me move it out of the way for a sec. If we were going to use this tool, we would peel our apples, which I've done, and then we would have to core them. Now I have a corer. If you don't have a corer, it becomes a little challenging to do this. You can actually use a piece of copper pipe or stainless steel pipe, but you simply take the corer, give it a little wiggle, and push it down, and it cores the apple straight through. Now that's if we were going to use the mandolin. And I will show you how to use a mandolin, which I'll do right now. All right, so if you look under here, you can see this little handle coming down. This handle right here where I'm pointing is what adjusts the blade on the top. So I don't know if you can see this, but when I move the handle, it raises this plate up and down, and that's what determines the thickness of this apple. So if we were at school, or if you needed to do this, we would lay the apple above the blade. I always say, make your hand like a ski jump so that you're putting pressure on the apple so that you get a nice straight cut. I originally have to decide if this is too thin, which it is, so I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. You can see this is several apples. They're really thin. We don't want them quite that thin. Let's see. That's a bit better. Just a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. So it's about 3 mils, 1/8 of an inch. And I'm holding my hand underneath because I want the apple to stay together. So ski jump hands, push, even pressure, the apple drops into my hand, and when the apple gets small, you have to you gotta slow yourself down, or you can wear your cut glove, and then you can finish it up. All right, so that's one way to do it. And then once you have the apple sliced, you simply take a knife and you cut that apple directly in half. Now, at school, as I said in the previous lesson we had, that stimulating lecture we had online, you just cut these in half and keep them together and lay them flat. This is what goes into the tart shell. Now, if you're doing these by hand, you're gonna take a peeled apple, and you'd say you don't have a corer. You're going to cut the apple from stem end to the bottom, and we're going to core it using this Parisienne scoop. So you can see where the core is. You're gonna take the scoop and make one round circle on one side, and you're gonna do it on the other side as well. And then I would say you take a little paring knife and just get that bottom stem out and a little bit of skin off and pull. So now you have an apple that is cored using this Parisienne scoop. And now you're simply going to slice this in either direction. It doesn't matter, but you want to keep them nice and thin. So kind of hold on to it, slice down, put a little pressure. Don't cut your fingers. Whoops, we want that one to go back in. And you are then have a nice sliced half an apple that will fit in your tart pan, okay? So let me put these off to the side, and I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so we're ready to put these things together, our apple tarts. This crust, this rectangular one, is the one that I used to demonstrate how to line a tart pan in the previous video for pâte brisée. These two I just lined, and I'm going to actually show you. I've rolled out a piece of pâte brisée, very thin, it's about 2 mils, and cut it a bit, ½ inch bigger than the top of the tart pan. And now I'm just going to lay it in. Now, what is a little bit different here than what we did with the metal tin is that we can't roll over the tops of these, because this is just like a oven-proof cardboard. So you have to fit it in, and then you're simply going to take a paring knife or a sharp knife and make sure it's, fitted in there well. And then you're just gonna slice across the top to get rid of it. And the paper is the paper. So it's kind of got some movement. You wanna just refit it after you cut. And there you go. So now we have a large tart and 3 small tarts. So remember, we talked about this. The first thing we're gonna do is put a generous spoon of caramel in the bottom. Just kind of give it, if you had a squirt bottle, that would work really well. I'm going to give it a little more because I love generous. All right. And then you're going to take the apple, which is all sliced, and you're going to fit it into this shell. So we've got the caramel, we've got the apple, and then we are going to drizzle a little bit more caramel over the top. If you wanted, you could put the cinnamon sugar, but honestly, we have a little cinnamon in the streusel. I think we got the cinnamon going. So this little bit of caramel on the top, and if this were a little bit warmer, it'd be a tad bit easier. This little caramel on the top is what's going to get the streusel to stick. Now I'm going to put a piece of deli wrap underneath this because it's going to make a mess. And then we're just going to take a nice, generous handful and when I say generous, I mean generous. Oops, a couple bits on the floor. And because this is what's going to make this delicious. And ladies and gentlemen, that is an apple tart. These are going to get transferred right in the paper to a sheet pan, a roasting pan, a pie pan, anything you have to sit them on, and put them in a 400-degree oven. Probably take about 20 to 24 minutes. We want the streusel to get bubbly, we want the crust to get brown, and when they're done, you should see the liquid will leach out of the apples, so you'll see that sort of caramelizing and getting syrupy. These are really quite delicious. So that's how you make an apple tart. Okay, they are out of the oven. It took about 35 minutes for them to cook in my oven at 425. But I'm going to hone in real close, and you can see that the crust is cooked, the streusel is lightly golden browned, and you can see the apples have leached their juice and gotten syrupy. I'll show it to you on a smaller one, but they're lovely and they smell delicious. So these are our apple tarts.